The video is called The Truth About the Trident as a Fantasy Weapon, featuring the Meta Muppet himself, the Meta Muppet. So, let's check it out. All right, Trident, guys.
You know, obviously the Poseidon Trident. So water diffraction, take that into account.
Ooh.
I think it would spear a fish.
He's great. Woohoo! Let's go.
Hello and welcome back to another
Hello, Trident. How you doing?
episode of Screen Tested. I am your host Trident, and in today's episode we're going to be taking a look at our last and final god weapon. To refresh your memory on this little mini-series, as it were, in the first episode we took a look at Zeus's Thunderbolt. Is it a good weapon design, essentially? There's a lot of caveats in that one because, you know, thunder and magic, etc, etc, but it's an interesting episode nonetheless. Then we got to Hades' Tine, or Pitchfork, Varatha, Bident. It has a lot of names actually, and it was a fascinating one because not only is it
that looks like a Bident to me, yeah.
Really cool, but there's some caveats with it as well. You should check that episode out if you haven't already. And that leads us to today's episode with the last and final of the big three god weapons, the Trident. Poseidon's Trident, Aquaman's Trident, some random fisherman's Trident, whatever we want to call it. It's essentially a three-pronged thrusting device. Now, obviously, there is a little bit of historical context, you know, maybe like a gladiator that springs to mind when it comes to the Trident. Obviously, we're going to be focusing more on the fantasy aspect of it, but we will touch on that a little bit later. But with
that's me, by the way. When he says that, he means me, you Muppets. yeah. It was funny when you go like, oh yeah, the weapon of Poseidon or Aquaman. Man, the difference. Am I right? Oh yeah, he's great. Absolutely. You're saying, what is it? Was the shark real? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's great. All right, let's go.
With all that out of the way, let's get started with the build because I've been looking forward to this one. This one's fun. So getting started with the build for the Trident, because in the last episode we did Hades' Pitchfork or Bident. We need to do a couple of repairs because that's obviously what we're going to be using for the base of the Trident itself, right? We're 90% there. So after I've thrown the Bident onto the anvil, I'm going to straighten up some of the edges and the points. Then I'm going to cut some steel piping.
Man, that's awesome that he makes the whole thing. Now, I will skip the construction so you can go check it on his video. Let's look at it in action. Let's go. I don't know who this is, but he's gonna get speared. Well, you wouldn't say speared to death. Would you say tridented to death? I don't know.
This Trident here, not this one, but Tridents in general, do have a little bit of historical context behind them. So, for today's episode, we've got a very special guest, Metatron, and Metatron is going to be going through some of the historical uses and context behind the Trident.
Hey there. So I'm going to react to myself now. Is that weird? I don't know, but I am weird. So, you know, watch me disagree with myself. I'm going to get so pedantic that if I say something, I might disagree. So I think it's still worth doing it. Plus, I thought it was a nice thing. So, yeah, the Gladiatron. I'm going to put where am I going to put myself? Ah! Okay, that was weird. I don't know what happened. Ah! Okay, I feel better. Whew. All right, so I'm just going to put myself here a little small. There we go. Let's see if I have something to say. I might say something wrong, so let's go. Trident, thank you so much for having me. Okay, let's talk about the Trident. I've got a few things to say. So whenever we think of the Trident as a weapon, we all go there, right? Imagining the Roman gladiator, specifically the gladiatorial class called Retiarius, aka this Muppet here. I would say it's quite safe to say that among all the different types of gladiator classes, the Secutor, the Murmillo, the Traex, the Oplomachus, the Retiarius is the fancy one because we see this very improbable fighter. I mean, he's lightly armored, he's got the net, he's got the Trident. In fact, let's have a look at the Trident. Sorry to interrupt you, Metatron, but I would like to say, note that in iconography, the Tridents appear to have the same length. I don't really see a longer spike in the middle, so that could be an interesting version to recreate. I mean, look at this. They look identical. in iconography. Anyway, sorry, Metatron, to interrupt you. Let's go. The meta. This is meta. There is a reason why the Trident was given together with the net to this specific fighter. And in fact, no, there are 3 reasons. So let's go. Gladiatorial combat is deep and multi-layered. The reality of fact is that as modern people, whenever we look at the retiarius, for example, fighting the murmillo, the muscular big gladiator that is also carrying the Roman scutum and the gladius, we might just focus on the way they fight and the weapons that they're using, but we might miss out on what an ancient Roman would have seen, the sort of analogies that were connected to this specific figure and weapon. First, there is the physical allegory. So, the retiarius is clearly the fisherman. He's got the net, he's got the trident. This is rather obvious, but what might not be is that the murmillo is the fish. I agree with myself. But yeah, no, I can actually go deeper into this. Hey, Dash Renda, so good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining this absolute insanity of a stream where I'm now reacting to myself. Yeah, thank you very much, Dash. Good to have you here. Thank you. So, yeah, no, as I was saying, it's true. So that we always think that Retiarius is the fighter with the trident and he's the fisherman. I think we all know that. But the Murmillo is the fish. So from the perspective of the Romans, this was an obvious thing. This is the fish in a mythological sense. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. The helmet that the Murmillo class is usually wearing is a representation of a specific type of fish that in Latin was called murena, which means moray, eel. These ones here. So the whole representation that we are seeing there is that the Murmillo is a beast of nature, a sea monster that is hiding behind the rocks, aka the scutum, that the fisherman needs to try and hit in order to get him out. In other words, in the eyes of an ancient Roman, this battle between the trident-wielding fisherman and this horrible sea creature was symbolic and entertaining in their way, as that they could apply their imagination to what they were seeing. After all, these are gladiatorial games. All of this I would like to underline again. I agree with myself. Excellent work, Metatron. But I wanted to say that all of this would be obvious to the ancient Romans. Obvious. They would be like, oh, the Murena has entered, the Murmillo is in, and then he comes in, and then he goes for the monstrous attack against the poor fisherman who is struggling to stay alive and fight the forces of nature. All of this was obvious to a Roman. And it's a bit like when we watch something, and because it's based on our own mythology and ideas and religions and cultures and philosophy and whatever you want to put in it, then it's obvious to us. Well, this was obvious to them. Yeah. But let's go deeper. In the eyes of, after all, these are gladiatorial games. But let's go deeper. In the eyes of an ancient Roman, the trident-wielding combatant is also a representation of the god Neptunus, Neptune, who, as we all know, is the Roman god of the ocean. Or is he?